Hey y'all. So let's have a conversation. This is Life Conversations with Dr. Amy podcast. We're welcoming Miss Laura Broome this morning. It's morning here in Texas. We're both in Texas. I just moved to Texas and I'm in Temple and she's in San Antonio, Texas. And we're going to have a conversation in Texas this morning. Miss Laura Broome is a resilience coach and she's an author. Her passion is to help people flourish in life and help us move past adversity. So we're going to talk about stepping out of our comfort zone, embracing change, overcoming adversity. We're going to have a few topics here. Welcome, Miss Broome. Can you share more about you?
Thank you very much, Dr. Amy. I'm excited to be here. And yes, I am a resilience coach, and I became one after going through four life-changing events in a 5-year period, and kind of found out that that's kind of my calling, is to help people overcome adversity and flourish in life. And it started throughout my life, but where it all kind of culminated was in 2015. My husband and I had just started a business. We were a couple of years into it, and I received a diagnosis of breast cancer. And so we had two locations, one in San Antonio and one in Austin. And I was working the Austin location, and because of my chemo treatments, we decided to shut our Austin location down. And so I was able to I was able to do half chemo treatments and still work, so that I could still kind of help with the business. And I was very, very, very fortunate and grateful that my oncologist worked with me on that. She did it with a few of her patients. But during that time of my cancer journey, we lost our older son to suicide, and that was devastating. And so, going through that grief period and still dealing with my breast cancer, we a couple of years later, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. The chemo treatments had turned on a genetic marker for congestive heart failure. And I have identical twin sister, and she also received that diagnosis and a couple of years earlier. So went through my heart transplant in 2020 during COVID. And
Oh, wow.
a month after coming home from the hospital, I found out my marriage was over. So after 27 years together, and I went through the grief stages again. And when I realized that um, the infidelity had been going on a lot longer than I first found out about, I realized I had to make a choice. I had to move on or be stuck in my pain and suffering. And so I had to start a process of moving forward. And it's the same coping strategies and resilience skills that I use, that I wrote my book about, to help others, because I thought, at my age, when I went through this, I was 58, and starting life over basically from scratch again. I had to find another source of income. I had to find a new place to live, and just making a lot of new decisions with my life. And it was especially during the pandemic, it was a lot to take in. And a lot of, I mean, I've come to realize a lot of women my age, um, those who are going through divorce and starting life over this late in the stage, it's hard. and I found a way to get through it, and I want to encourage other women and men. I've had some clients um, that were men too, having to move past hardship and rediscover joy, because adversity makes you bitter or it makes you better. And I chose to be better, and I want to encourage and help other people, realize that you can move past hardship, and you can rediscover joy and find a new purpose and meaning in life.
Definitely. Wow. And I can see that from what all you've said, that was definitely some adversity you went through. And I see some of your pictures in the back of faith and your sign with hope.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're a Christian, I assume.
Yes, yes, my faith played a big part in getting over this, because I realized I can't do everything myself. I have to turn a lot of what I'm going through over to God. He gets frustrated with me. I joke around because I am not one to just sit and be still. I have to do something. So I joke around about, I just put everything that I had no control over into God's inbox, and I said, Lord, you go deal with that stuff, and I'll deal with stuff I have control to do something with, to move forward. And it was trial by error. I found things that didn't work. I found things that did work, and it I learned how to develop a growth mindset and keep that hope. The hope for me wasn't wishful thinking, it was action oriented. So I had to learn to find, what are some things that I can do today that's going to help me move forward. And they were teeny tiny baby steps,
Yeah.
but just taking it one day at a time. And I had my ups and downs. I was on an emotional roller coaster at first, with each event that I went through. But I had to accept my circumstances, because it's easy to say life isn't fair. And I had my pity parties. But I wouldn't allow myself to stay there.
Mhm.
And I had to, I found little ways um, to move forward. In fact, I came up with a mantra that I would tell myself. There were four parts to my mantra, and I had to do it at least one, hopefully two a day. And that was: hunt the good stuff, find the humor, seek the positive, and focus on your blessings. And so I tell myself, if I could do at least one, that hopefully two of those things, then I was having a good day. And that helped a lot, because it just took all that overwhelm down into like four tasks, and I just simplified things, simplified life for me, going through um all those emotions.
Definitely. When you were talking, it just that scripture, weeping may endure for a night,
Mm-hmm.
joy will come in the
Come in the
morning. Like it
morning.
just came
Mm-hmm.
to me. So can you explain your three-step resilience strategies?
Yes, I love talking about these things because, like I said, when you're going through a hardship, difficult challenges, you're just so overwhelmed. There's so much going on in your head. And I wanted to make my framework as simple and basic as possible to start seeing progress. And so the first step is to develop a growth mindset to conquer fear of change. And so in that step, I talk about radical acceptance, and that's, where you don't have to like your circumstances, you don't have to approve of it, but you have to accept it. And that's part of the grief stage too. When you get to that acceptance stage, then you kind of come out of it sometimes it's like, okay, now what do I do now?
Mhm.
And so the once you reach that radical acceptance stage, then you start looking at, what can I do, what's in my power, what's in my control, what are, and I usually tell my clients, make a list, because sometimes when you're so focused on all the negative things, what the loss was, what you can't do, that we tend to forget there's so many things that we can do, because we have control over our thoughts and our minds. I mean, our words and our actions. And taking over those negative thoughts in your mind is the hardest thing. But
Mhm.
I tell my clients, just get started with, I can't do that, but I can do this,
Yeah.
and find something to do, because it eventually it gets easier to look for things that you can change, or you can do. Sometimes it might not have anything to do with the situation, but it's just, I can go outside and take a walk, or I can call a friend and talk. I can, I can just rearrange my room, or, do something. But when you start seeing you're empowered to do things, it keeps your mind focused. You can see some accomplishment,
Yeah.
and it just gives you that worthiness, that confidence that, I can do some things. And what's it and I think that in the beginning is the most powerful thing to keep moving forward. And so the second step that I go into is discovering your superpowers. And superpowers consist of skills, talents, your passions, your character strengths. And by making a list of even your past accomplishments, hard things you were able to overcome, again, it starts to emphasize your self-worth, what you've been able to do. And if you got through those things, you can get through your current situation. And looking at how you can, I call it mix and match your personal assets. How can you use them in new ways? And in my situation, because everything was shut down during the pandemic, we were all having to quarantine at home. Just from recovering from my heart transplant surgery, I had to quarantine at home anyway. So I was kind of under two quarantines, and while going through a divorce. And so my resources were very limited, and so I had to really, that's kind of what I did. Is it's like, okay, what are my experiences, what are my passions? And I love helping people. And everybody kept telling me, gosh, you're so strong, I can't believe you're getting through this. And so I thought, I'll combine those two things, and I can become a resilience coach. I can teach people what I've had to learn on my own. Those four events, I just had to keep going. I had a family, and I had to find a way to keep going, moving forward. Now, with the divorce, I did seek therapy. I did go to, we had a marriage counselor that we had seen a year and a half prior to the divorce. And so I wanted to go back to her, because I had so many emotions going on. I just didn't want to rehash our history. And she already had that. Um, so that really helped tremendously, because she helped me to focus on the present and move forward.
Yeah.
And because the past is the past, um, you can't really change it, but you can learn from it. And I think that's really powerful. And so that's what I did. So by discovering your superpowers, it helps you find new meaning and purpose to move towards. And and that kind of goes into the third step, uncovering opportunities to thrive. And so in the third step, you learn how to think outside the box. Again, you kind of look at your superpowers, what resources are available to you. It can be people, things going on in the community, just opportunities by getting out and helping others, like volunteering. That was a wonderful outlet for me because I was able to go back to mentoring youth who have a history of foster care. And because my son that I lost, um, we had adopted him from another country. And so I saw what conditions he grew up in. He was 9 when we adopted him. And so we were a family for 10 years before he died. He was 19 when he passed away. And so I knew my passion to honor him and his memory was to do something with adult, I mean, adoption families or foster families, because I knew what the process was like, and I knew the challenges of going through the adoption process and just acclimating as a family. And so I've been a mentor with a local organization here in San Antonio, the Through Project, for 5 years now. And so it's been a wonderful experience, and to use my passion for helping others. And being a resilience coach, my passion is to show people you can overcome adversity, but it's a choice. And so I usually will, when I start with a client, I usually just find out, are they ready to move on? Then it's okay if they're not, because everybody grieves and in their own way, and some people aren't quite ready to move forward yet. But we have so many choices in life. We don't like them all the time, but we have to still make a choice. And fortunately, change is constant. So if we don't like our choices, we just wait a little bit, and maybe some new choices come available. And so my favorite part is that uncovering opportunities, because what most people see as obstacles, from my experience and what I've been through, I know within that obstacle, there's a gift, there's an opportunity to 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 make a difference in either someone's life or the community. But there's an opportunity hidden in that obstacle. I've always heard, if there's a problem, there's a solution.
Mhm.
And so now, when I used to have obstacles in my path, and it'd be like, oh gosh, what now? Now I've been able, because I've had a lot of practice, I've been able to go, uh-oh, if this is a roadblock, that means there's another way around it. Or maybe it's a new path, maybe it's the same path, but I got to find another way around. And there's just, it's like a little kid on Christmas. It's kind of like, there's something better out there. It's, I just got to find it. And it's just a process. But if we have that growth mindset, it's not failure, it's just not yet. It's still out there, but I just got to look a little harder to find it. And as a Christian, I saw this meme, and I don't know if you're familiar with it either. It's been on social media sometimes, and it's this little girl holding a little teddy bear, and Jesus is kneeling down, and she says, but I like this teddy bear. And behind him is like a gigantic teddy bear, and it's like, but I have something better for you.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at obstacles. There's a reason for the obstacle. We
Mhm.
don't know what it is, but it just means there's something better on the other side. And I can speak for myself. I mean, with everything that I've been through, I have met some wonderful people. My path is crossed with other people. I had so many inspiring people that I met through my breast cancer journey, through my heart issues. I've had wonderful medical people in my life. And I mean, I have so much to be grateful for. And I think that's another thing that I talk about, in my mantra, hunt the good stuff, find the humor. I do love to laugh. I can find humor in anything, just at the appropriate times, not while I'm going through bad times, but I can find it afterwards. And then, seek the positive, and just count your blessings. And when you start counting your blessings, and I usually tell my clients, just find 1 to 3 things to be grateful for at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And if you can't find anything, then use the 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 statement, at least things aren't worse, because they can certainly get worse. And
Mhm.
even through all the stuff that I went through, it could have been much, much worse, but it wasn't. And so that's where I find all the gratitude. And, and it is possible to move past adversity, and you can thrive and you can have a wonderful life afterwards. You can find more joy than you thought you could ever find possible, but it's a choice. And I think that is so important. I can't make anybody, change their mindset, but I can encourage people. And if they want to, then I'm get so excited for them, because it is wonderful on the other side. And I want everybody to experience this type of joy and this type of hope. And um but I can only control myself, but when people get a taste of it, they're amazed at how easy it is. And I'm going to qualify that it can be easy, but again, that's another choice, because when you, like, I struggle with losing weight. And I too saw a documentary on eating. No, you saw Game Changers. Okay, well, through my breast cancer journey, I was told about the documentary Forks Over Knives.
Mhm.
And so I changed my diet with my breast cancer journey to eat more, change my lifestyle of eating. And um, and it's just it's hard. It sounds easy, but it's hard.
It is.
Exercise, my body just goes, don't want to do exercise.
Mhm.
So again, it's a choice.
Definitely is. So you have a beautiful testimony, and I'm enjoying this conversation. Um, I like the way those coping strategies not only helps with adversity, as you mentioned, it helps us thrive. It also helps us step out of our comfort zone. And I heard how you mentioned if you have somebody you feel that's not ready,
Mm-hmm.
you don't push them,
Mm-mm.
but what is your strategy for someone that comes to you and you feel like they're just not ready yet? You don't just completely, write them
No,
off or.
no, I can tell by talking to somebody where they are. And, if I have no problem just telling somebody, if if I don't feel like they've gone through all those grief stages, so to speak. I mean, you don't have to go through all of them, but if I don't feel like they've in that acceptance stage, it's
Mhm.
going to make it, they're going to struggle more, because they're going to start looking at themselves as success or failure. And I don't want anybody to feel like that. So to me, it's like, you're not quite ready yet. But what I will do with um people that I talk to in that stage is, if they're not open to talking to a counselor, then I just say journal, just journal, just get it out.
Mhm.
And because when it's swimming around in your head, again, you just get so overwhelmed. You feel like you can't focus on anything. So it's So find a way, talk to somebody else that you feel comfortable to, journal, get those emotions out. And then I tell them, talk to them about taking baby steps, you know, maybe start off doing 1 to 3 baby steps a day. Um, if because usually when you're going through all those emotions, you're not motivated to do anything, right? You just want to sit in your pain and just be there. And so what I just suggest is finding 1 to 3 things that they can do to move
Mhm.
forward. And that may be just getting out of bed and moving to the couch. That may be getting dressed and just cleaning up an area. And that if I had a client that she had been through a bad divorce, and she just didn't feel like doing anything. And she was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so we talked about taking 3 baby steps a day, and 3 things to be grateful for at the end of the day. And boy, she took to those great, because you see progress. Those are simple steps, but she got so excited. She had just moved into an apartment, and she had her second bedroom was full of boxes. And before she had looked at this, like, that's just too big of a job for me to deal with right now. But she took one box and she just set a timer for 15 minutes and did something for 15 minutes. And she saw the progress and she said, I can do this. So it just led to more time, more tasks. But I caution them, don't get overwhelmed. You're going to get excited to see progress, but then don't go say, I'm going to put this whole room together today. It's just those little baby steps add up, and you see progress. You get happy, you feel good, and you makes you want to do a little bit more. And then the gratitude, again, gratitude puts you in a better mood, because you see your life is not as bad as you think it is.
Mhm.
And I think too, just find something where you're not just focusing on yourself. When you like just getting involved in a church community, or um, helping a friend do something. And when you take that focus off yourself, it's gratifying to know that you helped a friend or a family member. And again, you get the good, the good hormones going, and laughing will get those endorphins going. And it's, so, as a nurse, I mean, all those positive emotions,
Yeah.
is so good for you. And just um eliminating some of the stress, because our body holds all that stress in.
Exactly.
And if you can find outlets for it, journaling, taking every day, find a reason to laugh. And if you can get those good belly laughs, that's even better. And if you have nobody to find it, call me, because I can make people laugh. I just love to find humor in everything. And it's and like I said, when they start seeing progress, it's gratifying for me knowing that I helped somebody.
Yeah.
And because I know everybody has the potential to live a happy life, but
Mhm.
it's a choice. And it's sometimes people think it can't be that simple, but it is.
Mhm.
You can choose. It's not easy. Sometimes, some days it is, but when the really hard decisions come, or the really difficult circumstances come, it just takes longer. But I like my framework. I love my framework, because it can be applied to small things. What
Yeah.
am I going to have for dinner? What am I going to fix for dinner? Or, to bigger things. It's just the degree of applying these concepts. And I think, to me, I'm a very practical person. I come from an accounting background, so I'm all about efficiency and practicality, and it's like, how can I do this better? And so I think this framework, I my 3-step framework, is even easy enough to teach to children. What can you do? What are your strengths? And how can we look at things from a different perspective? And it's empowering. It truly is. I can
Yeah.
speak for experience.
Yeah, you definitely don't look like what you've been through. And the way you
No.
talking, like, oh my goodness. I like the fact that you say, you that's your passion. Like with me, my passion is helping others too, as a nurse practitioner. And we have our bad days, but then we have our good days too. And then the joy is when you find when some of my patients, when they express the gratitude, when I come and see them, just spending that time with them one on one, because I have a little bit more time because I do visit patients in their homes, so I have a little bit more time than I had when I was in the office
Mm-hmm.
setting. So just spending that time with them and seeing how grateful they are, that's the joy. Knowing
Right.
that you've had an impact on somebody's life, that brings you so much joy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was also thinking about me myself. I had to step out of my comfort zone and change and overcome adversity and be resilient because I was always a quiet person growing up in school, grade school, high school. I was just that quiet girl. I didn't say much. And you would never think that Amy would have a podcast. And I know some of my friends, they probably thinking, wow. But I stepped out of my comfort zone and I did it, prayed about it, and God just provided this outlet, this platform for me to get my word out there, these conversations like you, bringing your story, blessing others. This is beautiful. And I also wanted to mention, as you were saying, how you overcome the resilience and how you help people through those strategies. We have to recognize our small successes.
Yes.
Oh. We think about, we're our own worst
Mm-hmm.
enemy. We beat ourselves up and then we don't recognize, do you realize you just achieved this? Recognize those small victories and successes. And that helps motivate us to move forward.
It truly does. There's a book that I love, and I love to recommend it, called The Gap in the Gain. And it it and again, another simple concept, but we don't do it enough. And that's, we tend to focus on where we need to be, what our goals are, and that it's like looking at the horizon and trying to get to the horizon. As we get closer, it keeps moving, and if we just turned around, looked in the rearview mirror, look behind us and go, wow, look how far I've come. I mean, and I have to do that with myself because, starting a new business and putting myself out there. I'm an introvert. I use humor as that's kind of like my tool to to go on podcasts, to tell my story, because it's kind of my diffuser, I guess, and is humor, my defense mechanism. But when all my, well, I mean, the last two things, the heart transplant and the divorce, that happened 4 years ago. And I look at myself and say, well, look at you now. And then I go, well, it seems kind of quick and it seems kind of a long process, but I have to remind myself too, just like I remind my clients. Sometimes I have to coach myself and, just say, just you've come so far, just make today the best day, try to make it better than yesterday, and just take it one day at a time. And, the past is the past, the present is a gift, and the future, it's unwritten. We can turn it into whatever we like it to be. And I think that is just a wonderful concept, and keeping God in the mix. I mean, like I said, I always joke around and say, I'm kind of like this with God. He's put me through a lot of things, but I have so many testimonies throughout all my hardship to just show he does like to take the ordinary, the ones that nobody really notices, and just show his glory and his power through little people like me. And because I can take no credit for what I've been through, and that's, I think that's what I love to talk about is, I mean, it's just amazing when he wants you to do something, he's going to put you out there. And I always pray every day, Holy Spirit, just fill my mouth with the right words and the right message. But I just feel like I want to give people hope. You can go through hard things, but it's your choice of whether you want to go after that hope and overcome this and be able to tell your story, because that's what we need to do. Is we all need to share our stories. I've heard so many inspiring stories along the way, and I just think it's so important that we keep telling our stories so people know that they're not alone when they're going through tough times.
Exactly. Yeah, like you said, I mean, we have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You can either be bitter, like you said, or be better. You can
Mm-hmm.
either be a victim or a victor.
Exactly.
So we have a choice. We have Miss Broome here, our resilience coach.
Hopefully, I've inspired some people. Say, I'm going to try it.
Yeah. Do you want to be stuck where you are,
Mm-hmm.
or do you want to overcome it? You want to step out of your comfort zone? You have a choice. Are you seeing anything change being stuck where you are, or do you want to make that choice and make that change and come out of that rut? Wow, that's good. So your book, it was published in December, this past December.
Yes, it is. It's I have a copy right here, and it's called "Flourishing After Adversity,"
Okay.
and it's half memoir and half um, action steps, an action plan. And I wrote it because I couldn't find. I was looking for something like this to help me move forward, and I couldn't find anything that gave me the action steps, and because I didn't know what I didn't know, and I never expected to go through a divorce. I never expected to have health problems. I'm not a sickly person, and I joke around now, I go big or go home. I haven't had the flu in over 20 years. I haven't had colds. I'm just not a sickly person. And um and so um so I wrote the book to kind of use some of my stories, and a lot of them are what not to do when you're going through hardship. And then I talk about my resilience framework. I put the concepts in there, uh, that kind of match my stories. And then I, at the end of the chapter, I tell the rest of my story of what happened afterwards. And then at the end of the chapter, I have some questions and exercises for the reader to implement in their own life. So it's kind of like a reference manual and kind of like a, I guess, well, I don't really, I'd never wanted to write a memoir. But it's just, and some of the stories are funny. Um, and even though they were, they, they were tough times, have some funny stories about my breast cancer and even with the heart transplant. And, and I just really wanted to get the book in people's hands. So I do offer the book is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It is available on my website. If you're in the United States, you can get a free copy of my paperback book and just pay $5 shipping and handling. And the ebook is available online for $2.99. So my passion is to get the book in people's hands and kind of like a little do-it-yourself manual. I do offer coaching as well, but like I said, my passion is to help others, and I wanted a framework that people could use for any kind of obstacle or challenge they have in their life. And then I also, in the book, I also encourage the reader to teach the framework to somebody else, because that reinforces what they've learned, and to keep the legacy of resilience going with the next generation. And because change is going to happen, life is going to be unfair, but we have a choice how we respond to it. And I just want everybody to know they've got this. You can do this.
Yes. And pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you learned, that's going to help you do something to help somebody else, bless somebody else.
Yes, yes, and it seems like too, there's so much negativity in the world, and we can't change a lot of things, but we can change ourselves to make the community, the world a better place. If everybody tries to do what they can do for themselves, to give themselves a better life and pay it forward, help others.
Definitely. Oh, this is good. How can we get in touch with you?
The best place is just to go to my website, icopetohope.com, and that's with the number two. And on my website, you can get the free book. I also have a free resource called 20 Key Strategies to Strengthen Resilience and Embrace Change. And it's 20 coping strategies and resilience skills that I used to get through my hardships. And it's kind of like a checklist, because some you may already be doing and some you may not. And so it's just a helpful tool. And I have a bunch of blogs that people can read, and that tells some of my story, and then just some of the resilience skills and coping strategies. So, and then there's a place if somebody wants to work with me.
Wow, that's good. We've learned a lot from your adversity, your story, beautiful testimony. I hope someone has gotten something from this. Miss Broome, I appreciate you joining me this morning. Do you have any lasting and encouraging words for somebody out there that just feels stuck, or they just need some help right now to step out of their comfort zone, to overcome some adversity that they're dealing with?
Yes, I would say you were put here on this earth for a purpose. And when you find your purpose, you will find joy, and you will just, that void will be filled, and you will live a fulfilling life. But sometimes it might take a little bit to find out what that purpose is. And so that's when you need to step out of that comfort zone and just do baby steps. Just try little baby steps. And, but you're going to find out those little baby steps are going to make a big difference in your life.
Exactly. Don't give up. You
Mm-mm.
know, we live in a rush society. We want
Mm-hmm.
those quick fixes.
Yes.
Stay motivated, encourage, pray,
Mm-hmm.
diligent, stay diligent, and we will get through this together. Yes.
Yes. I like to tell people that God has a golden 2x4 that he uses on the back of my head, and it has a big dent in it because he's trying to push me out of my comfort zone. I go, no, no, I don't think I want to do that. And so, but he is a loving God, and those were little love taps. And but now I don't say no anymore. I might say maybe tomorrow, but he pushes me out of my comfort zone. And but it's not about me, it's about the message he wants me to share with others. And so somebody, somebody in your, listeners may be feeling that, that tug to step out, and it's like, no, I don't think so. But do it. You're not going to fail. You're just going to learn some new things. And just failure is not, will never happen unless you give up. As long as you don't give up, it's just another way of how not to do something. And I'm an expert on that too. I know so many ways not to do something, but I learned how to do it and why.
Yes. Thank you for being obedient to the voice of God and for blessing others, Miss Broome. I appreciate you. Thank you for this conversation. And I will put Miss Broome's information in the details of this episode. Y'all hit her up. She's a blessing. She's smiling. I love your beautiful smile. And if y'all are not subscribed to my podcast, Life
Mhm.
Conversations with Dr. Amy, hit that subscribe button, like it, and share it. You'll be blessed. Thank
And thank
y'all.
you for what you do. You're a blessing to so many people. So thank you for what you do with your podcast, stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Have a good day.